Yo, what's good YouTube? It's Boardsy, and in this video, I'm going to be comparing the G Pro X Superlight and the Endgame XM1r in an attempt to help you find the best mouse on the market. I think that most people with a brain agree that these do seem to be at least in the top 3 of mice on the market, but there is one massive difference. It is a nearly $100 difference in price, and you also may notice that the XM1 has a wire. This is the boogeyman. Many people seem to be completely scared of having a wire anywhere near their mouse. Though this is one of the best stock cables, many people are just over wires and only want a wireless mouse. If you can't get past the mental block of having to use a mouse bungee, you might just have to shell out $150 on the Superlight. There are literally no other options. But if you're a person who doesn't really mind having a wire, then this comparison is going to be amazing for you to consider. First thing I'm going to talk about is the quality. The quality on both of these mice, well, I don't know. The Superlight has like one minor QC issue, and it's just play on the mouse buttons, and it really hasn't gotten that much worse over time. You can compare it to some of my older videos from a few months ago. I've been using the Superlight as my main since early December now, and it really hasn't worn down much on me whatsoever. There's no issues with the coating wearing either. There might be a bit of dust. The XM1 as well is an amazingly built mouse. It is 70 grams. The Superlight is 60, so there is a 10-gram difference in the weight, but the quality of the XM1R is perfect. It reminds me of like a Zowie mouse. There's really no weak points. I had the old XM1, the V2 version, and now I've had the XM1R, and I've never had any QC issues from Endgame as a company. So with build quality, there is not a massive difference, and definitely not a $90 difference in the quality. If anything, the XM1R is built a bit better, but it's really, I'm not gripping the Superlight and being like, oh, this feels like a cheap piece of shit. No, it feels amazing. And I guess that's what I'm going to talk about next, like the in-hand feel. The Superlight, I've said many times, it just feels perfect. Everybody who reviews it talks about the weight balance, and that is for good reason. This is a perfectly balanced mouse. It's like the safest shape. This is kind of just like what an endgame mouse looks like, but it is at an extremely high fucking cost. And it just doesn't really, you don't need to pay that much to have a nearly perfect mouse, is what I'm trying to get across with this video. And one thing that I think the XM1R lacks is the ability to universally recommend it, because it is one of the more aggressive, like popular shapes. It forces you into a specific type of claw, especially depending on your hand size. And if you have small hands, I would just straight up say don't get an XM1. Unless you have wide hands, I don't think you're going to be able to like properly appreciate the shape. God, that was the cringiest thing I've ever said. If you have large hands, you can pull off fingertip. That's what I did on the XM1 for the longest time. But then I learned how to claw grip. Wow, amazing. And honestly, with the Superlight, it's just not the same case. This is like a blank canvas that just lets you put your fingers on it and grip it however you feel a mouse should be gripped. And that is definitely a benefit. Some people think it's a negative. They're like, oh, the shape is too safe. But honestly, after using it for a few months, I just think that's bullshit. I think you could get used to this and perform exactly as good as you could on any other mouse with like, oh, a more like specific shape for your exact grip. I personally don't buy into it, but hey, believe whatever you want. And I guess to directly state what I'm saying about the shape, if you have medium to large hands and you play claw, the XM1R is a much more sensible like first purchase, because you might really fall in love with like the shape and feel. And also, my next point is the clicks. The clicks of the XM1R are far superior than the Superlight. And you might not really care about this much, but I just think that Endgame has really like mastered like click feel, and Logitech, like it's a good implementation of 20 amps. I'm not gonna lie, I've probably clicked these millions of times by now, and they do give you like a pretty nice response. They're very like snappy, I guess, but the XM1R has like the sharpest clicks. These are Kill 8.0s, and I really do enjoy them. They are a bit heavier than most mouse clicks, but you get so much tactility from them. And I'll do a sound test like comparison right now. And I want to stress again that the Superlight clicks aren't bad. They're perfectly fine in game, but the end game clicks are without a doubt better, and it's a much more premium feeling on a less premium priced mouse. And I'm not going to keep rambling on about the clicks. You can watch my original review if you want to hear about them, but they are the best on the market that I've tried and way better than the Superlight clicks. Next thing to talk about, I guess, would be the scroll wheel. I prefer the wheel on the Superlight. Once again, scroll wheel probably not like making the decision for anybody, but the scroll wheel on the XM1, one of my original complaints said it was a bit recessed and far up on the mouse. And after using the mouse for so long, I got used to it. But for a lot of people, you'll probably deal with that. And I don't know. It is the lightest scroll wheel click I've ever felt. Like, listen to how much I can click this shit. But that doesn't really make up for the other, like, kind of small flaws. And I guess I just really appreciate this Superlight scroll wheel because I have used the mouse for so much. And I've just like used it for like general productivity and shit. And just having a nice scroll wheel with like very defined steps and like almost a lubed feeling, if that makes sense. I'm just a massive fan of it. Next thing to talk about are the side buttons. The side buttons on the Superlight are very mushy. That's one of my problems with them. Like they work perfectly fine if you play Fortnite, but these are not a really good click feel by any means, at least in my opinion. Might vary a bit copy to copy, but I think there are way better feeling side buttons. The XM1R doesn't really exemplify it. Mine are sort of mushy and they have like post travel if I press down. So the side buttons aren't the best on any mouse. And due to that like actual like creakiness that I can feel, I wonder if it'll pick up on the sound. I would say that the Superlight has better side buttons, but realistically, you're going to be able to build with both of them in Fortnite, and the positioning is fine to hit it with your thumb, at least with my hand size on like any grip I do. Next thing to talk about is, I guess the cable situation. The Superlight does not have a cable, but it uses micro USB to charge, which is worse. I would rather it have a cable than have to fucking use micro USB to plug this shit in every 2 weeks. That makes a lot of sense. The XM1R, it has one of the best stock cables on the market. It might not be as good as the XM1 V2 cable. They did have to make it a bit stiffer, but you can see there are no problems with it. It is mighty fucking flexible, and you cannot feel the weight of it, but you can definitely feel that you don't have the complete like wireless range of motion. Does that inhibit me? No, it honestly doesn't. I feel like there is no like performance decrease from this cable being present. But even with that being said, I still think that the overall feel of the Superlight is nicer, and that is why I choose to main it over the XM1R. I feel like if you took my Superlight away from me and you were like, oh, you have to use the XM1R, I would not fucking complain. But just having the ability to use the Superlight, it is really easy. And I feel like for a lot of normal people who don't review like fucking as many mice as I do, you can just get the Superlight and be done with mice. But then again, you can get the XM1R and be done with mice. It's just, I honestly don't know what it is. I cannot put the phenomenon that I'm trying to describe into words. Like, it's so hard for me to say, oh yeah, spend $90 more on the Superlight. Like it makes sense to me. It's like, oh, if I could do this over again, yeah, I would do it. But when you go through the features, it honestly does seem like the XM1 is a better buy. And I guess I will talk about the coatings quickly. I think the XM1R has the better coating. There are some QC issues with the Superlight coating. I haven't had them. I have sweatier hands than most, and I use this mouse more than most people. So maybe those will pop up, but maybe the blessing from God made me immune to that. While the XM1R has it's basically a gold standard of coating. Basically what I'm trying to say, if you can find an XM1R and you haven't bought it already, just fucking give it a shot. No reason not to. And if you think what I've said about the Superlight applies to you, fucking go for it. If you have another mouse you want me to compare the Superlight to, let me know. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about the stock feet. The stock feet on the XM1R, they actually give you two options. You see there's the option for like the original hybrid style, or you can put the big Zowie glides. On both of these mice, I actually use core pads. You can see they're extremely broken in on the Superlight. The stock feet on the Superlight, you basically have to replace, or I would strongly recommend it at least. While you can get away with the stock feet on the XM1R, but the hybrid ones aren't rounded. Going way too far into depth about stock feet that I do not have anymore. Also, XM1R uses a 3370. The software just came out. Everything about it feels perfectly fine, like input wise. Same thing with the Superlight using the Hero sensor. And I think that is all for this video. Make sure to leave a like and sub if you enjoyed it. And yeah, tell me more mice to compare. I love doing it. Love it. Love it.